Help me reach 7,000 subscribers. Please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Your feedback helps make the content better. She started in on me over coffee, like it was a Monday staff meeting and I was late with a report. No hello, no how'd you sleep. Just, we need more. I can't live like this forever. And her eyes went to the window like the neighborhood was a catalog and I hadn't ordered fast enough. I glanced at the sink, empty, because I ran it before bed after putting in a 10-hour Saturday. Live like what? I asked, stirring the coffee I bought on sale by choice, not by necessity. Like average, she said. Like scraping. Look at the travel photos everybody posts. Look at what they're doing. I checked the time on my phone. It was 6:12 a.m. I'd be out the door by 7, on a job site before 8. I'd forgotten what a lazy Sunday looked like. You want a trip? Pick a long weekend, I told her. We'll go? We'll budget it. That's the point, she said. Why are we budgeting everything? Why can't we just live? If I'd known where it was headed, I'd have sat down, eaten the toast, and made a list. Instead, I put the mug in the sink and told her I needed to go check the truck. She followed to the doorway, arms folded. I'm tired of needing to. I want you to want more. I pulled on my boots and thought about the past year. 2 side projects. A promotion. Overtime. Her new phone. The new dining set. The dentist bill. I want a lot, I said. What I don't want is a fantasy that only gets paid with my hours. Your attitude, she said, waving a hand. That's the problem. Or maybe, I said, tying the second lace. The problem is the scoreboard you're using. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I'd hear it again at lunch and after dinner, and once more when I tried to sleep. That was the new rhythm. I'm not enough. The world is more, and somewhere out there life is better if I run faster. It started like that. Small digs, price tags highlighted in conversations, little sighs at dinner when I'd say, let's wait till next month. Then it sharpened. You're just safe. Other people push. I'm tired of being the only one who wants something. I listened, then I started checking the clock on what I gave and what I got. When you run through Sundays to make a life and get told the problem is your pace, you take notes. I didn't shout. I didn't point to the electric bill with my name on it or the way I kept the oil changes on schedule for both cars. I just said, I hear you, in the tone that says, I don't agree, and went to work. At the shop, Carla looked up from her spreadsheet when I came in early and tossed my gloves on the desk. Carla's the bookkeeper with the memory of a courtroom recorder and an allergy to nonsense. You look like you slept on asphalt, she said. Coffee at home, I said. New flavor. Pressure. Money. She didn't look up. She already knew. Status, I said. And a mysterious they who live better. She snorted. They also rent those outfits and use filters. What's the plan, boss? There it was, my cue to act, not stew. I shrugged off the jacket and looked at the schedule. I'm not changing my hours to chase a mirage. But I am done being the on-call ATM. Going forward, I'm splitting discretionary spending. I'll cover the bills, like always. Anything beyond that, projects, upgrades, extras, gets its own bucket, half and half. No more open tab. Carla clicked her pen. About time. It's not punishment, I said. It's clarity. If someone wants more, cool. We'll see it in their share. She won't like that, Carla said, not unkindly. She doesn't have to, I answered. She just has to know the rules. I put it in writing that lunch break. A simple draft in notes. Bills I cover, shared extras, what counts as want versus need. No drama. Adult basics. I sent it with, heads up so we can plan cleanly. Love, but I'm not funding arguments. She responded an hour later. Seriously? I typed, seriously. You're being controlling. I wrote, I'm setting boundaries on what I pay for. That's not control, that's responsibility. Different thing. She didn't reply. When someone benefits from fog, any light looks rude. Driving to a site after lunch, my phone buzzed. Lucas, my oldest friend, owns a garage on the other side of town. He talks like a radio host who got bored with polite. You free tonight? He asked. I've got a rusted out Ford that needs a witness. I'm married, I said. So bring the ring. I'll put a chair beside the lift with your name on it. I said I'd swing by. A man needs one room where the only thing that breaks is metal. At home that evening, I found her on the couch with her laptop open to a neighborhood group full of smiling people by ponds. She didn't look up. Cooking, I said, heading to the kitchen. I had a smoothie, she answered. Not a meal, I said, chopping onions. That's what you drink when your jaw's lazy. She closed the laptop slowly. You know what Mike did when I wanted something? He just made it happen. The name landed heavy, like a door head-butting the wall behind it. Mike. A guy from years ago I'd heard about once in a passing story, the watermark she never said out loud. Until now. Good for Mike, I said impassive. Maybe he had a fairy godmother. Or no mortgage. He had drive, she tossed back. And yet he's not here, I said, sliding onions into the pan. Which tells me drive didn't translate to staying. She stood. You always twist it. I'm saying I want a life that feels like more than bills and roasted chicken. I nodded. So do I. I just think roasting the man who pays for the oven is a weird way to get it. She threw up her hands and walked off. I let the onions sweat and finished the chicken. Then I covered it and wrote a second note. Starting this week, I'm moving my tools to Lucas's back garage for a side job I've been turning down. I'll be home by 9 most nights. That puts extra in the extras bucket. But I'm not going to be here at 6 p.m. to take inventory of how much better other people look online. If we eat together, we plan it. She didn't message back. When I left for Lucas's, she called out from the bedroom. Enjoy your new rules. Enjoy the budget meeting on Friday, I answered, grabbing my jacket. At Lucas's, the rusty Ford didn't need a witness. We put it on the lift, walked under it, and he tapped a breaker bar against the frame. Looks like a relationship, he said. Rust on rust, pretty paint on top. What's the word with your wife? She's in love with a concept, I said. And a ghost named Mike. Lucas looked up. That the ex from a decade ago? Apparently now an investor in our marriage, I said, wiping my hands. I hit pause on the shared impulse buys. And she reacted like somebody canceled Christmas. She called me controlling. He grinned. You, the guy who apologizes to the coffee maker when he bumps it. I don't apologize to appliances, I replied. I apologize to Carla when I move her stapler. He laughed, then sobered. Don't let her build a religion around somebody you never met. Already set the first boundary, I said. Budget split. Side work. Friday check-ins. She can have preferences. She can't have a blank check and a complaints department. Lucas leaned on the fender. What's your line if she brings up Mike again? I rolled the rag into a tight square. If she drags him into our house, I'll put him in the group chat. 2 days later, she shifted tactics. I came home to the table set, candles lit, salmon done right, and lemon wedges like we were on a magazine shoot. She smiled the way people smile when they know the camera's aimed. Wow, I said, washing my hands. What's this? I overreacted, she said quickly, guiding a plate toward me. You're doing so much. I was just tired. I studied her. First softening. The right move after a boundary. I appreciate the dinner, I said, matching her tone. We're still keeping the budget split. And I won't abandon Lucas's garage work. Of course, she said. I want to support you. We ate. She asked about the job site. I told her about the supply delay and the foreman who thinks deadlines are suggestions. She nodded at the right spots. She didn't mention vacations or Mike. After, she pressed a hand to my arm. We could look at weekend getaways once you're less slammed. Send a list, I said, and a number you want to put in from your side. Her fingers flinched, but she held the smile. Yeah, I'll look. For a second, I thought we'd turned a corner. Maybe a clean reset. Maybe she'd seen the math. Then Friday arrived, and so did her friend Alyssa with a bottle of something and a way of speaking like she's the director of a play where only she knows the lines. They took over the living room while I was in the kitchen preparing a stir-fry. You didn't book the lake house? Alyssa's voice carried. I told him we should. My wife said, too casual. He's in a phase. Discipline and schedules and playing it safe. I set the spatula down and leaned on the counter, listening. You'll blink and be 50, Alyssa shot back. You could be doing better. It's not like he's mean, my wife said. He's just average. He gets comfortable. I stepped into the doorway. Ladies. Alyssa didn't flinch. People like her never do. We were talking about experiences. Great topic, I said. Here's one. Starting Monday, my pay goes direct to a new account that covers the mortgage, utilities, insurance, food. Anything left goes to a joint extras account we both have to fund equally to spend. I'm moving date nights to the calendar with times and budgets posted Sunday. If a plan requires more from me, it gets more from you first. No more last-minute upgrades because Instagram said so. Alyssa blinked, then smirked. Sounds romantic. It's adult, I said. Romance can come later, when respect shows up. My wife stared. You can't just announce it. Correction, I said, calm. I can. I'm doing it. Consider this the beta version of communication, clear and on time. Alyssa stood. I'll leave you too. You're fine, I said. Nothing here is a secret. My wife's jaw tightened. You're embarrassing me. You're welcome, I said. Better here than at the bank. Alyssa picked up her bag and gave me a look like I'd said a swear in church. Take care, you two. When the door clicked shut, my wife rounded on me. You just love to control. I love the light on facts, I said. You can have opinions. You can't have surprise charges on my hours. She folded her arms. This isn't the partner I signed up for. The partner you signed up for kept the lights on, I said evenly. He still will. What he won't do is finance disrespect. Her eyes flashed. You think your money gives you a crown? I smiled politely. No, I think my effort deserves basic courtesy. She left it and went to shower. I ate at the counter and lined up 3 envelopes: mortgage, groceries, utilities. I wrote the numbers and my contribution and left a blank for hers on the extras envelope. Action, not debate. I went to bed early. Sunday I was at Lucas's by 8, taking apart a stubborn axle. Progress, he asked. I set rules in front of Alyssa, I said, tightening a bolt. My wife called me controlling, then lit candles like a cooking show, then called me safe to her friend. Lucas whistled. Public boundary. Good. One more step, I said, wiping my hands. Next week I'm spending 2 nights at the spare room above the shop. Trial separation of logistics. I won't fight in my own kitchen while paying for someone else's script. He grinned. You can have the key. Blankets are questionable, but it's warm. I'll bring my own, I said. I'm not here for comfort. 2 weeks later, the lid blew in a place where lids aren't supposed to blow, at our friend James's backyard barbecue. James is a contractor who tells stories that get longer with each burger he flips. Half the neighborhood came. Portable chairs. Kids running through sprinklers. Music low. I'd brought potato salad. She'd worn a dress that made 3 women compliment her shoes. We were at the picnic table with James, his wife Nina, and a couple from down the street I barely knew. Talk turned to housing costs. Someone joked about needing to win the lottery. I kept it light. We budget like it's a sport, I said, nudging my wife. It keeps the lights on and us out of trouble. She surprised me by rolling her eyes. We budget because someone is allergic to ambition. Nina's eyebrows ticked up. James looked down at the grill like it had suddenly demanded his attention. I'm allergic to chaos, I answered calm. You're allergic to risk, she snapped. That's why we're stuck. I held her gaze. We have a plan. It works. She laughed sharp. You think you're a man because you pay bills? If I'd married Mike instead, I'd have a real life by now. Silence dropped like a blanket. Even the kid with the sprinkler hose pointed it at the sky and stared. James started to speak and then didn't. Nina shifted in her chair. The couple I didn't know suddenly found their plates fascinating. I set down my fork. Something settled, not rage, more like the moment a contractor finds the stud he's been tapping for. Solid. Clear. Okay, I said, and pulled my phone from my pocket. Let's ask him. Her face changed fast, from righteous to confused to alarmed. Don't. You brought him into our marriage, I said, thumb unlocking the screen. He can answer for his legend. Stop, she hissed, leaning close. Not here. Especially here, I told her, meeting her eyes. You made it public. James cleared his throat. Guys. I'm good, I said, scrolling to the app, the blue one we all use for high school reunions and photos of nieces. I typed Mike and saw 3 results. I picked the one with the familiar face from her one story years ago, a camping photo with a hat tilted the same way she described. Don't, she said again, softer, near panic. Please. I looked at her for a long second. Then I locked the phone and put it face down on the table. Not out of mercy, out of timing. I don't do spite. I do decisions. We'll do it tomorrow, I told her evenly. During daylight. From home. She stared at me like I'd reached across and flipped a breaker she didn't know was there. James started talking about the grill again with the speed of a man guiding a ship away from rocks. The couple excused themselves. Nina squeezed my shoulder as she stood to get more lemonade. On the walk to the car, my wife tried one more angle. You're being cruel. No, I said, opening her door. I'm being exact. She cried on the way home, quiet at first, then not so quiet. I didn't scold. I didn't comfort. I drove, parked, locked up, and set my phone on the nightstand. She stood at the doorway, eyes wet. You're not serious. I'm past serious, I said. I'm organized. She slept in the guest room. I lay awake, not angry. Clear. The line had been drawn for me. All I did was paint it. In the morning, I brewed coffee, buttered toast, and opened the app. She stood across from me, arms folded, defensive, afraid. I'm not playing your game, she said. This isn't a game, I replied. This is an audit. I typed a simple message. Hey Mike, we haven't met. I'm married to her name. Yesterday she said she'd have a real life if she'd married you. I'm inviting facts. Did your life together match the legend? I showed it to her. She went pale. Don't send that. You introduced him, I said. I'm giving him a chance to speak. I hit send. Then I left the phone on the counter and went to shower for work. In the truck, on the way to a site, the phone vibrated. I pulled into a gas station and checked. Mike, we dated 3 years. She compared me to everyone she met. I left because one day I realized I was a mirror, not a partner. Not sure what legend she's selling, but it wasn't that. Another ping. Mike. She liked the idea of a life more than the work of one. If she's still doing that, I'm sorry. Good luck. He attached a screenshot of an old text thread, her sending him photos of fancy places, captioned, when we move up. Him answering, we can plan, but we need time. Her, I don't want time. I want now. Then 3 days of silence. Then him, I can't be a target for your frustration. Then the thread ended. I stared at it for a second, then saved the screenshot. Facts, not adjectives. Then I drove home. She was at the sink, hands here but not here on a towel. I set the phone on the island and slid it toward her. She read. Her mouth opened and closed. No, she whispered. Yes, I said. I was younger, she said. I was different. You used the same move yesterday, I said. New paint, same structure. Her eyes filled. I don't do that. Not to you. You do it every time you say they and point at a life you didn't build, I told her. You do it when you tell your friends I'm safe and average like those are insults. You did it when you brought Mike to a barbecue I pay for. I'm sorry, she said quickly. I am. I lost it. I was jealous and stupid. I'm working on it. I nodded. Good. Work on it from space. She blinked. What? I'm moving to Lucas's spare room for a bit, I said calm. We'll meet on Friday to divide accounts and set a plan for the house. You can stay here until you find a place, or we can sell. But the days of you using me as a measuring stick for what's wrong with your feed are over. Access to me is earned, not assumed. You're abandoning me, she said, voice shaking. No, I said, picking up my bag. I'm abandoning bad rules. She reached for my arm. I stepped back. I'm not a cruel man. I'm just a man who's had enough. Don't do this, she pleaded. Please. I'm doing it, I said, and I'm doing it clean. I texted Lucas. He sent a thumbs up and the code. She followed me down the hall. We can fix it. We could have, I said, pausing at the door. You spent your chips at a picnic. At the shop, Carla looked at the bag on my shoulder. You good? I'm moving upstairs for a while, I said, hanging the bag on a hook. She said the line. I answered with a line. Carla nodded like a nurse who's seen the chart. Want me to run numbers for splitting extras, deposits, all of it? Yeah, I said. I want to walk into Friday with a printout and a pen. She pulled up a template. You'll get flack. I'll get quiet, I said. After I set the terms. Lucas leaned in from the garage. Room's ready, champ. Blankets washed. I even found a lamp that works without flickering. I grinned despite the day. You spoil me. He clapped me on the shoulder and then lowered his voice. You sure you don't want to blast him on social? That would be. I'm not in the theater. I cut in. I'm in logistics. That night, in the spare room above the shop, I wrote a list. Friday, I cover mortgage for 2 months while she relocates. Utilities move to her name if she stays. Extras account stays locked until both deposit equal amounts. I take the truck. She keeps her car. We split the savings down the middle after covering the last joint purchase. No surprises. No fights. Signing on paper. If she shows with tears and no cash, we reschedule for when she is both. She texted at 9. I can't sleep. Can we talk tomorrow? Dinner. I answered, Friday. 6 p.m. I'll bring the printouts. She sent a heart. Then, I'm sorry. I said awful things. I don't want to lose you. I'll change. Second softening. Classic. I stared at the screen, felt the old instinct to drive back and fix it. Then I set the phone face down and went to sleep. Work felt lighter the next day. When you stop carrying a sack that isn't yours, your shoulders tell you so. Thursday night she called. I made lasagna. Come home. We can go through the numbers together. Friday, I repeated. Neutral ground. Lucas's office. You want to humiliate me, she said. I want to finish, I answered. She hung up. Friday, she showed up at Lucas's in a sweater I liked and makeup like a peace flag. She brought cookies for Carla like we were at a holiday swap. Carla thanked her politely and then left us with the door half open like a chaperone at a high school dance. Here, I said, handing her the folder. Mortgage, utilities, savings, extras. Timeline. I'll keep the mortgage covered for 60 days. After that, if you're still here, you take over or we sell. We split savings after paying for the last big buy we agreed on. She flipped through, lips pressed. You're making this so cold. I'm making it clean, I said. I can't afford rent right now, she said. You can afford a budget, I said. Start there. She looked up, a flash of the old sharp. You enjoy this. I enjoy clarity, I told her. The past year had none. She pointed at the line about extras. You're locking the account unless we both fund it? Yes, I said. If you want upgrades, you put in first. Then I match. No more, maybe later after I front the cost. She exhaled through her nose. I said I'd change. You said it after you got caught. I replied, not unkind. That's not change. That's damage control. She blinked fast. I hate the person I sounded like. Then stop being her, I said. But you're doing it from a distance. She wiped her eye and tried one more angle. We could do counseling. Counseling is for people who respect each other, I said. You invited another man into our marriage so everyone would see me as small. You made sure there was an audience. I'm not hiring a referee so you can pretend it was a foul instead of a pattern. She looked down at her hands. I was wrong. Correct, I said. And we're correcting course. We signed where we needed to sign. We set calendar reminders. Lucas leaned in once and asked if we wanted coffee. She shook her head. I asked for water. He brought it and left without commentary, which I appreciated. When we finished, she stood. So that's it. For now, I said. We'll meet in 2 weeks to check progress. If you found a place, we'll do the handoff. If not, we list the house. You really don't love me, she said, testing, fishing. I loved you enough to run through weekends, I said. I still care enough to make sure you're not sleeping in your car. But I'm not staying where I'm used as a backdrop for your speeches. She squared her shoulders. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, putting the folder in my bag. But I'll regret it from a clean apartment where nobody compares me to a ghost. She left first. Lucas whistled softly from the doorway. You didn't flinch. I'm done flinching, I said, rolling my shoulders. Flinching looks like agreement from across the yard. 2 weeks later, progress was what progress always is, mixed. She'd sent 2 listings in a budget that assumed tips from angels. She'd also canceled our streaming subscriptions and texted me a photo of a color-coded planner like she'd discovered discipline. Illusion number 2 in full bloom. Overcorrect and smile. I didn't clap. I forwarded a list of rentals that matched her actual numbers. I scheduled a meeting with a realtor for a market assessment on the house. I transferred my direct deposit officially to the Bill's account and the rest to a savings I controlled. Extras stayed locked. I moved my name off all the auto-pay subscriptions for her phone and extras. Utilities timeline stayed. She called that night. This is humiliating, she said. Humiliation is what you did at James's barbecue, I answered. This is structure. She exhaled. I talked to Mike, she said suddenly. I waited. He said he told you I compared, she said. He's exaggerating. He sent screenshots, I said. Silence. Then, I was stupid then. You were yesterday, I replied. I'm not your mirror. I'm not your lesson. I'm a man with a life to run. She was quiet a long time. Then she said, small, do you still see me? I see you as you are, I answered. That's the problem you've got with me. She started to cry. I don't want this. You don't want consequences, I said. Nobody does. I didn't drive over. I went to sleep. The next day, I met the realtor at the house. He walked through with efficient eyes and gave me a number and a timeline. She hovered, asking if the market might magically jump. He shook his head. She deflated. I kept it moving. After he left, she followed me to the kitchen. I'm scared. Fear is honest, I said. Use it. She reached for my hand. I let her take it for a second, then freed it. I'm not punishing you, I added. I'm just not collateral. I can be better, she said. You can? I agreed. Better doesn't earn back what you blew in one line. Her eyes dropped. You won't forgive me? Forgiveness is easy, I said. Trust costs. Respect has to see daylight again. Right now it's night. She nodded like she understood the grammar, if not the meaning. We confirmed the next steps. She had an application out at an apartment near her job. I would cover mortgage until her move date or 60 days, whichever came first. She would take her car, and half the savings after last month's purchase was reconciled. I gave her the exact number to the dollar. She stared at it like it spoke a language she'd forgotten. Thank you, she said genuinely, for not throwing me out. I don't throw, I said. I place. The point of no return came quiet. No fireworks. No slamming doors. Just a Tuesday where I stood in the doorway of the house I'd painted and slept in and paid for, and realized the museum of our life had more plaques than pieces. She'd packed 2 suitcases and 3 boxes. I'd set my duffel by the door. The signed papers were on the counter. She walked in from the bedroom with a tote of shoes, looked at me, and then put it down. I don't want to go, she said. I'll change. I mean it. You'll try, I said. For a month. Until the next comparison gives you a high. I'm not judging. I'm reading the record. I'm not that person, she protested. You showed me who you are when you used another man's name like a whip in front of our friends, I replied. You didn't trip. You trained. She flinched. That's harsh. It's accurate, I said. She tried one last play. We could start over. New house. New town. Different crowd. You want a reset button, I said. Those live on screens. I live on streets. She sat on the arm of the couch, folded over, then looked up. What do you want me to say? Nothing, I said, picking up the duffel. This isn't a speech. It's a move. She stepped in front of the door. You'll regret it, she said again. You'll be alone, and you'll remember I was here. I looked at her and saw all the small cuts I'd allowed and all the small excuses I'd made and how they added up to one big misunderstanding. That effort would be respected just because it's effort. I moved past her. She held still, then stepped aside. At the threshold, I paused. Not to dramatize. To mark it. You wanted a better life? I said. Here's the first step. Respect the bill payer. Too late here, but useful going forward. She breathed out something halfway between a laugh and a sob. You're cruel. I'm specific, I said. There's a difference. I walked to the truck, set the bag behind the seat, and drove to Lucas's. The month that followed looked like adulthood. Papers with signatures. Utilities transferring. Realtor appointments. Boxes and labels. It wasn't cinematic. It was clean. She moved into the apartment she'd picked. I sent the final mortgage payment I'd promised, and then turned off my auto pay. We split the savings per the agreement. Extra's account remained untouched because she never put in. James and Nina invited me over for dinner. James man-hugged me at the door like he'd been waiting to do it since the barbecue. Beer, he offered. Water, I said. I've got an early morning. Nina handed me a bowl of salad. You handled that with more dignity than I've seen in 10 years of neighborhood dramas. I had practice, I said. Just finally used it. People were talking, James said, frowning. Barbecue night. Nothing vicious. Just people talk. I assumed, I said. I gave them something true to say. He nodded. She's been quiet lately. That's new, I said. Nina smiled. You look lighter. When you stop paying for noise, everything gets quieter, I answered. Carla handed me a printout at work the next day. Hours, side job totals, the new savings number. You could buy a small house with that start if you wanted, she said. I want a garage with good light, I said. And a couch I picked because it's comfortable, not because a blog likes it. Lucas leaned in. Update. The spare room is now officially yours for as long as you need it. Also, there's a woman dropping off an old motorcycle next week. She asked if you were the one who fixed her neighbor's lawnmower. I said yes. She said you sounded competent. That's code for I want to meet the guy. I shook my head. I'm not shopping. Who said shopping? Lucas grinned. She's bringing a bike. You're a mechanic. Wheels, not hearts. When the woman came, her name was Erin. She wore a flannel shirt and talked like someone who has her day lined up. She needed the bike to start before spring. We went over parts and timelines. No flirting, just competent adults making a plan. It felt normal, good. Weeks later, I signed final papers on the sale of the house. I moved into a small place with a driveway I didn't have to share and a kitchen that didn't host arguments disguised as conversations. On move-in day, Lucas and Carla carried boxes in and argued about where to stack them. Garage, I directed. Everything goes to the garage. The rest we can trip over later. At sunset, I sat on the step with a sandwich and watched a neighbor teach his kid how to throw a baseball. Erin rode by on the motorcycle I'd brought back to life, waved, and kept going. The air smelled like cut grass and someone's grill. Not happiness, not bliss, just clean. As for my ex, I hear things. In a town like ours, you can't not. She left the apartment after 6 months because she wanted more light, and the landlord wanted rent on the first. She changed jobs twice. She posted less. When she runs into James and Nina at the store, she makes small talk. Nina says she looks tired. That's not my business anymore. Here's the part you're waiting for. The final line you can repeat to yourself later if you're sitting at a table listening to someone tell you that a ghost would have loved them better. I went back once to the old street to pick up a last piece of mail that stupidly, somehow, still found its way there. She was walking to her car. We nodded because adults nod. She looked at me like there was one more speech in her pocket. Don't, I said, raising a hand. We're done with speeches. She tucked her hair behind her ear. You look settled. I am, I said. Turns out a real life isn't an award. It's a calendar and a budget and respect. She stared at me, eyes flicking like she wanted to argue and couldn't find the hook. I held up the envelope. Wrong address, I said, and turned to leave. Are you happy? She called. I didn't look back. I'm respected, I answered. That was the point all along. I got in my truck and drove to the garage where a bike waited to be tuned, a friend waited to make bad coffee, and a new couch waited to be sat on without an opinion attached. If there's a moral, it's simple. You can pay for a life with hours, or you can build one with standards. When someone brings a ghost to your table and asks you to compete with it, you don't argue with air. You open the window,